Hello and welcome to Lead to Excel podcast, where every story sparks inspiration and every conversation brings you closer to your best self. I'm Maureen, and I'm here to explore the extraordinary fusion of leadership, emotional intelligence, and the groundbreaking insights of neuroscience. Together, we'll uncover secrets to unlocking your potential, enhancing your decision-making, and elevating your performance to new heights. Whether you're leading a team, building a dream, or simply on a quest for personal growth, you're in the right place. So let's dive in and transform the way we think, lead, and live. Welcome aboard. Welcome again to another episode of Lead to Excel podcast. Today, I have a really special guest, and I mean really special guest. I have known this lady for so many years. We met when we were both learning to do public speaking with Andy Harrington. And then it's been such a wonderful journey, just, kind of watching both of us grow and evolve and so much more. But what sets this lady apart is something she's done with her children. And we're going to get into it a bit later. But recently, I think a follow-up from the way she's really groomed her children in business, she's launched a book. And for those on audio, I'm actually showing a copy of the book, and we're going to be talking a lot about this. So, Beatrice, I am just so amazed. The name of the book is Win the Money Game with Your Child. Wow. We're going to be talking about this a bit later. But congratulations again, and welcome to Lead to Excel podcast.
Wow. Thank you so much, Maureen. Thank you so much for the introduction. I am so excited to be here, and I'm just happy to see us all grow and indeed see us collaborate in this significant way. I can't wait for us to dive in.
Thank you so much. So, Beatrice Yakubu, welcome again. I don't think I mentioned your name at the beginning. So, it is Beatrice Yakubu is with me today. So, Beatrice, let's find out who Beatrice is. Tell us a bit about you. What do you do? Who is Beatrice?
Thank you so much for that question. So, I just want to say thank you once again for inviting me to this podcast, Lead to Excel. I have been listening to the podcast for some time now. I have never told you that, but I do.
That's good, though. That's cool.
But to be a part of it is incredible now. Who is Beatrice Yakubu? I am a mother, a wife, and a believer in Christ. I'm an entrepreneur and recently a new author. So that's in a nutshell who I am. But I think one of the things that I can say about me is that I'm a great networker as well. Just as time goes on, I realize that, yes, that's one of the things that I can do and do good. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. I would say you're a great networker. And so, Beatrice, let's kind of go a bit backward into your youth age. Where did you grow up and what was life like?
So it's interesting that you ask that question, because sometimes perhaps when you get to a stage in life, people cannot even conceptualize how, the type of places some of us grew up in. So I grew up in rural northern Ghana, and it was subsistence living. We just went to farm our produce, came and cooked and ate, and that's it. Sleep, and then the following day the cycle repeated itself. But one thing that we kind of got advantage for was missionaries brought a school to my village, and that was before I was born. And my dad was the chief of my village, and he had 7 wives. So we were so many of us running around, not knowing what we were doing. But in his youth, he was also drafted into the army. I think that was in World War II. So when he came back, the mission for him was to ensure that all his children got educated. So he really sent us all to school. however we were doing, it was like a set stone. If you were born in our house, you will go to school, whether you want to go to school or not. But I think for me, going to school was a way of escape from chores. I keep telling my children, I said, well, I think I need to send you back to Ghana because we went to school because we didn't want to do chores. Now children can't for them to go to school. Yeah, so that's how I grew up, went to secondary school. So to go to middle school involved, so those days we had primary school up to primary 6 and then middle school. At that time, there was no middle school. So you finished primary 6 at age 11 or 12, and that was it. You had to walk like 5 miles a day. That's 10 miles in and out every day to go to school.
Wow.
To continue with middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the time of middle school, 2 years into middle school, I think the walking took its toll on me. I was not well. And then one of the teachers suggested, why don't you write a common entrance exam so that you could go to secondary school? And that's how I escaped. I wrote past and went to secondary school, age 13. And that I had to leave the comfort of everything I knew to be in the township because there was no way I could walk from the village to the school. So I had to go and live with an auntie for 5 years to get secondary education. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. 10 miles a day. And when you look back now, how did that experience shape you? Because walking 10 miles for a child is a lot. There's resilience there. There's a lot. So how do you feel that kind of shaped your adulthood?
A lot. I think that one thing that I can say is that to be able to do that, a lot of children actually dropped out in those years. And for most of us in my father's house, we didn't have an option because my dad will not allow you to drop out of school. But the other thing was the fact that we knew because our elder brothers and sisters, our step brothers and sisters, had finished school and they were living in the township and having what we termed as a good life. So that was an inspiration, and we couldn't if you wanted that kind of life, you had to endure the 10-mile journey every day. But I think that has also shaped my life because I don't think there's anything that you can throw at me that will crush me because you know what? I have seen it all. What is it that I can do? So that built me up to where I am and what I do now.
Oh, interesting. So when you left to live with your aunt, that must have been frightening, interesting, because you've like you said, you left the comfort of your home. So those 5 years you were with her, kind of going to school, what was that like?
Frightening, yes. Exciting, yes, both. My elder sister was living in the township, but she, for some reason, didn't want me with her. So I had to go to
She didn't want a younger sister cramping her style.
That's it. You just nailed it. Yes. So my auntie, who was, a grown woman, had to take me in. And this was a lady who looked after my sister when she was in secondary school.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't know her up to that point. I didn't know her. Except my mom said, go and live with this, your auntie. So I was excited to be in the township, to live the village lifestyle, and to also see, in those days, you'd be able to see cars running about and radios playing. That time there was no TV. We didn't have TVs. Or perhaps there was no TV network, so it was just radios and tape recordings that you could listen to. But the frightening thing was just being with someone whom I didn't know, and also looking back, I think I felt really, really exposed.
Yeah.
Very, very vulnerable.
What do you mean by that, though?
I mean, because when you are a child, there are certain things you're just scared to be alone.
Yeah.
And when you are with somebody that you don't know, it feels like you are actually alone. She did her best, and her children also did their best. Unfortunately, she recently passed. Her children also did their best to support me, but I just felt that, if I could go to secondary school, like a boarding school at that time, I would have. But of course, we didn't have money to be able to take me to boarding school, so I had to stay. Yeah.
You mentioned something that I think is really interesting, and I kind of want to dig a bit deeper into that before I move on. You said that when you're there, you're not alone, but you're alone. And that's an interesting emotion to feel or experience to have. Do you remember how you navigated more for yourself emotionally? Do you remember how you managed to navigate? Because you are quite young as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I think the grace that has been, reflecting back, I can only think about these things reflecting back. I think the grace that I had was the zeal and the passion to read. So I've always loved to read. So I would just bury myself in my books. That's all I did. In the house, close to the house was the market, and you know how African market is so much noise. And all the villages are coming to this market every 3 days. My auntie, in her wisdom, wanted me to sell, like just go out there and sell things in the marketplace for someone else, so that at the end of the day they'll pay me commission. But I didn't want to do that because I wanted to read. So every 3 days I would, everyone would be out and doing their thing, and I would just lie there with all the noise. I would still be able to read. Now I think about it and I'm like, wow, it's remarkable. I was really into me that I couldn't hear anyone out there. I could focus and just learn with my books. In the night, it was the same thing. There was no electricity. It had to be a lantern. When I tell my kids, I've told them several times, and now they know the story.
Yeah, but they can't even kind of grab the concept of that. No lights.
No electricity. So it had to be a lantern, and I just buried myself with studies. And I think the friends that I also had, two people that I could call friends, were in that kind of space. They were from the township, but they were people that I could associate with, because again, bullying was another thing. Because when you come from the village, those who are in the township look at you as a village girl. So for that reason, you are not respected. And regardless of what you know, didn't count. But the fortunate thing that these friends I had, they could see what I had. And then so we were together, and I would teach them whatever I had to teach them. So otherwise, most of the time I was just buried in my books. And then
Thanks for sharing that. And I think that's so powerful. And even people listening, I just love that, because it's almost like you were in a place you didn't have control. You were there, you were lonely, you had no control. But the one thing you could control was reading. And so it's almost like you took that on. And it's interesting, because I always talk about this, that our brain likes being in control. The problem is that most times when we're not, when we don't have the control, our brain feels you don't have control, that is when people get anxious, they get frustrated, they get depressed, a lot of emotions. But focusing on what you can control, that's the power. That's so powerful. It's almost like, taking that control back in what you can. And you did that in the studying, and then also forming good relationships. Now, let's kind of go a bit further. So after middle school or high school, I know you went on to study nursing. And I think my question is, why nursing specifically?
Yeah, so again, anything I did had to be in alignment with affordability. That was it. So when I was growing up in the village, I was a nurse, always a nurse, because you know how children take characters when you're growing up and you're playing. This person will say, "I'm a doctor." This person, I was always the nurse because one of my elder sisters was a nurse, and anytime she came to the village, she would be able to go and see one of these sick people, and then they would get well. So that used to fascinate me. And so when we were playing, I would go and get a plug seeds of trees, and then that would be my medicine I'm giving to people. So, but when I went to secondary school, nursing, I didn't want to be a nurse anymore. I had grown out of it. But when I finished and the results came, I could go to sixth form, I could go to university. I was sixth form and proceed to university. But of course, it was a case of, there's no money for you to go to anywhere else than to do nursing, because at that point, they were giving us bursaries. The government had just decided that they needed to boost the training of nurses, so they were giving us bursaries. So that was a good thing for me, because then I could earn money, not to worry about my own being looked after or looking after myself. But that also gave me the opportunity to then look after my siblings as well, because I had money to do that for them.
Oh, wow. That's great. So you studied nursing, and then what made you come to the UK? How did that happen? Because now you are still in the city, I suppose. Yeah. Okay. So just talk us through that journey of coming
So
to
in terms of the after the nursing, so doing nursing was one of the greatest fulfillment of my life, because before I even went into nursing, I was waiting for the admission, and it took long. And nursing has been known notoriously for people have to bribe before you can go into. So some of you who are from the West, you don't know what that is. In Africa, it's what you know kind of scenario, especially where there's money involved. But the fortunate thing for me was the principal at that school was a seminarian, he had been to seminary school before, so he didn't do bribe. Otherwise, perhaps I wouldn't have gotten in. But I was waiting for too long, and I decided to branch into teaching, to kind of apply and go into teaching. So I went into teaching, teacher training college for like 3 months. And as soon as the admission for nursing came in, I did a transition. Like, I just felt at peace, because number one, the space wasn't crowded. Most of the people I was training with were matured women already, who had done what they used to call enrolled nursing, and then they were just coming in to do their state registered. So it just felt good for me. And I mean, a lot of them looked after me as well, because I was just a small girl. Small girl with a lot of ambition. Like, some of them actually saw that, I was very ambitious. I was compassionate as well, because looking after my siblings was something that some of them could not understand, because how would a young girl be looking after others instead of spending her money? But anyway, so I completed, and then I worked for a few years, and then the opportunity to go abroad came, because I think it was during the Labour government, when Labour had just taken over after a long reign of Conservative, like we're seeing now. They opened the door for health staff to come. And that was how I got the opportunity. Even with that, people were still asking me, and I said, I don't have the money. I don't have the money. You know how, you are the brain expert. When you say, I don't, or can't, that's it. You shut yourself out. So until one day I got the hint that one of my colleagues had come, and her husband was a bank manager. So I knew that she could get the money to come. And then, so that was when I was able to contact her, and then she helped me with the process. And then I landed here in this cold weather.
Wow. I'm going to go back a bit and come forward. If there's something you touched on that I like, which is ambition. You said that they saw the ambition in you. Beatrice, where do you believe this ambition came from? Because from what you've described, there wasn't that much. You came from the village. You didn't really see that much, even though your dad exclusively was training his children. Where do you believe that, or where do you feel that ambition came from?
I think both my mom and dad were very ambitious. So my dad was very ambitious. He could see us past the village. I mean, I just wish there was some type of recording of his conversation that we could replay, because he would always, I remember one time we went to, because when they prepared him food, like the African tradition, you have to go and kneel down and he would wash his hands, and then he's wearing a watch. And then I say, your watch will get wet and then it will spoil. And he says, no, not this type of watch. When you grow up, you'll be able to wear this type of, I still remember that.
He could powerful.
Yeah, he could see us, beyond the village. And for my mom, unfortunately, she didn't go to school, but my mom is I think she's the most ambitious person that I could ever see in this world, because when she was growing up, young people, you give each other names and things like that. She actually named herself a broad queen.
Wow.
Like the queen of, I don't know how to.
International queen.
Exactly. And even up to now, that's how they still call her.
Wow.
And she did not have any exposure whatsoever to anything. So, and her, going to school, being able to pay school fees because she was trading. So anytime during holidays, I have to go home, like the long three months, I have to go home and actually farm so that you raise the money to go back and pay school fees and all that. She was just sold out on making sure that all of us had education, because she just knew that was the way out for us. Yeah, so I would say that it's my parents.
You know what? Before you go on to the next question, I'm gonna stop you there, because I'm smiling so much, because I'm listening to you talking about your parents, talking about your mom, who literally was a dreamer. She had ambition. She was dreaming big and named herself International Queen. And people don't realize the power of dreaming, the power of words, the power of what you actually can believe in. And even though she didn't have it as well, okay, she was building up her business, but your parents really put this ambition onto you children. And the reason why I'm smiling a lot is back to your book, Win the Money Game with Your Child. You are literally doing the same thing. You've raised two business young ladies or youth, and now you've written a book doing the same thing. So the reason I was trying is that it's just so powerful how we raise children, what we say to our children, and what we do. And I know this will come out more in our conversation, because you've literally taken what you've learned from them and pushed it into your own children. And now you're even spreading it out into the world to all children, because as people read your book, they can do the same with their own children. That is just so incredible.
That's amazing, actually, because I never really think about it that way. Honestly, I've never really thought about it that way. My mom was so ambitious. When in her growing up years, my grandma looked after her, because in our clan, you could your brother's child, you could look after your brother's daughter.
That's right, yes.
And then, so when the child is given to you, the parents will say that this is your child, you raise the child, and whoever marries the child, you decide. So my grandma then asked my mom at some point in her life, she had 3 sons, all great sons. Which of these men would you want to marry when you grew up? And the youngest son was educated, and my mom chose him.
Oh, you see? Yeah.
To leave her choice, because Eventually, they betrothed her to my dad. But she already knew what she wanted as a young person. She knew how good life was, so to speak. So yes, thanks for highlighting that, because I've never really correlated the sequence of how things are panning out.
Yeah, that's incredible. Right. Okay. So now you arrive in the UK, young lady, another big country. How did you navigate the transition?
Not very well. So unfortunately, so when the opportunity came and I started, I had only newly been married and was expecting a child. So, but I had to do the visa process. My husband is a nurse as well. So I did the visa process for both of us until it got to a point that he needed to go for a visa because I had a baby. So he came first. And then a year later, my blessing, my eldest daughter was then 1.5 years old. She was okay enough to stay with my mom before I came and then brought her over. So when I got here, I left Ghana 25 degrees and got to UK 6 hours later, -3.
I have to laugh.
Even my greatest enemy, honestly.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, so that it wasn't easy. But I think the other thing was the fact that I had to wait for my adaptation. So we used to do 3 months adaptation, and I had to wait for that. And in the process of waiting for that, I had to work in a nursing home. Now, I had just finished midwifery and I was looking after mothers and babies. It was a joyful. For nursing, like I really, really loved to nurse. I just loved to look after people. And so to move from there to from birth to the end of life really took its toll as well, because I just felt that my services wasn't valued, because what's the point? But not until when I started with nursing in the NHS, things picked up for me. And but I think the difference is also the fact that with nursing in Ghana, we used to do 5 to 7 hours maximum. And then I got here and we had to do 12 hours shift.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
Gosh, yeah. So real culture shock. Right. Okay. So things happened. You then had your children. And why did you then decide to go into business? I'm asking this question, but I know why. Because from what you've already described, being brought up by a strong businesswoman, I'm not surprised. But what was your mindset in actually getting into business, and what was the business? Why, talk us through that.
So in terms of this country, I never really kind of settled in. My aim was to make some money, go home. But the problem was that I needed my children to be in Ghana so that I could have that freedom to work quickly and make the money. My mom, she grew up in the village, everything in the village. So she didn't find it easy to stay in the township so that the children could go to school. So I had to, bring Blessing over. And then obviously looking after family and all that just took its toll. But my main thing was that I wanted to go and open a pharmaceutical company. People would say that, oh, because you're a nurse, you go and open a clinic. When I'm doing business, I'm thinking of the easiest way possible to be able to serve people and to make money. Pharmacy is opening a big shop that I would sell to people, end of story. I know how difficult it is to look after patients. And when it comes to opening a clinic, it involves so much more than, it's not a simple business model. That's what I'm trying to say in a nutshell. So I did a degree in business. So I missed all this. I did a degree in business so that I could go home. And then after that, then I realized that the young people I was looking after back home, they all finished school and there was no jobs for them. And then I said, so even if I go home, they are going to be my burden because auntie do this, auntie do that. I will never be able to live the life I want to live. So why don't I work my way of bringing them over and then leaving them here and going back home?
Interesting. Oh,
so that was the plan. And then I finished degree, the nursing degree, the business degree. But I then said, okay, international development, if you're from Africa, you know that NGOs, they make money. Mm-hmm. So for me, like Vanessa would say, she was telling my son yesterday, she says, anything mom does is the money game. You have to win the money game because what else? As long as you're serving people and making the money, that's the most important thing. So I did the international development program so that I could go work for NGO, like non-governmental organization. But of course, soon as I finished, somebody introduced this idea of agency nursing to me. She said, you know what? Agency nurses, they're making a lot of money. And true, we were making a lot of money. We were receiving like double what we earned at that time. And also, there was a tax loophole that everybody exploited, and weren't paying a lot of tax. So we're making great money until government realized it and closed that opportunity. But what that then led to was that, oh, wow, okay, this is how business is. And, I just didn't feel like going back to be making 15, 16 pounds an hour, a 12-hour shift, not seeing my children. No. So that is when I started the business.
Wow. So what is the business you started?
So I started social media marketing.
Why social media marketing?
Well, that's something that I myself don't know why. Because so from the beginning, when all this saga happened with government changing the regulations, I decided to resign from agency, and I wasn't thinking of what to do.
What year was this?
2017.
Okay.
Around this time, I saw this lady, Caroline Marsh, on the TV program, Secret Millionaire. Now, up until that point, I had never seen a Black woman on that program. I was watching it, but I never saw a Black man, never mind a woman. Mm-hmm. So I was so excited. I'm somebody who likes to celebrate people. When you're winning, I'm your cheerleader. So I'm jumping in my room, and then everybody's asking, what's this? I said, come and see this woman, come and see this woman. And following her and going online and finding her, reading her about her story, she just inspired me so much. Mm-hmm. So I started going to business conferences with the aim of doing property. Mm-hmm. But when I got to businesses, the conferences again, the easiest way out was social media marketing, because they said, you can do this business in your bed. I said, find me on. But I think seriously, what my motivation was, this guy was talking about, your children can do this. You can get your children to do this.
Okay, yeah.
And I said, yes, I can get my girls to do it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that's how I signed up. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So you then started the business, because I met you probably around 2018. I think. Yes, 2018.
Yeah. 2017 was just about preparation, because I was just reading books. I was going to seminars. I was doing things like that. Yeah. Actually started, what the starting point was 2018.
So Beatrice, you then started the business, and what then led you? And okay, talk us through what you've done with your girls, because I think that's incredible. So that inspired you to start because you could actually, get your children in. And to be fair, a lot of people will hear that and it will excite them, but they don't actually do it, because to really bring kids to build them up into business is not that straightforward or easy, especially with this generation. So how did you manage to do it and do it very well? Because I've heard your girls speak, I've heard their story, and I think it's just so powerful. So how did you do it?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so when I signed up and then I came home, I'm somebody, when I'm excited, I'm excited. When I'm not excited, everybody knows. So with that excitement, all I wanted to do was to get them to buy into the idea of social media marketing. I think at that time, Instagram was not very old, compared to Facebook, and they were starting to get involved. And initially, I said no because I wasn't online. But hearing what my then mentor talked about, getting the children involved, I kind of bought into the idea. And then so I started with a blog. He said, write a blog, go open a social media account, but importantly, write a blog. So during writing the blog, I needed pictures, and then Vanessa will get me the pictures of food. I started with health. And then so because she's artistic, she just decided that, you know what, I'm going to open an Instagram account and then be posting these pictures. And then she did, and Blessing started with the beauty account because I was having challenges with her even when she started to put on makeup at 14. I said no. Mm. So at that point, she then also started. And then they grew so fast because on Instagram, because they knew these things, and I didn't. I had to learn from scratch. So they built up their Beauty with Blessing account, which is the beauty account on Instagram. Went over 20,000. It didn't take long at all. Wow. And then Vanessa did hers up to 4,000. And then they were the ones that found out how to monetize this. So I'm still trying, learning how to speak, learning how to do webinars, and then they were just really flying with it, because it didn't have to be like me compelling them to do it. It was something that they loved, and then they just picked it up. Because when Vanessa worked with Shake Shack, which is a multi-billion-dollar company, I didn't even know that that's how big that company is. But because they saw her profile on Instagram, they wanted her to promote their food. So, and if she would tell you in her story, it didn't just come to her. She had to work for it. So in terms of bringing our children up into this kind of lifestyle, it has to be something that they enjoy doing. And it doesn't have to feel like work. Because if it feels like work to them, they are not going to do it. They are it will be like you are trying to fit them into a box. So the speaking part, when myself and you met on the speaking program, that was my skills now helping them to put this into articulate this story so that they could help other young people hear their story, because they were doing, really well just before the pandemic. So that's how our journey has evolved into now doing coaching and all that we have done.
That's amazing. That is amazing. A family of entrepreneurs. I just love it. And you said something really vital there. It has to be something that they enjoy doing. And you didn't really need to compel them, but you gave them the platform. It's almost like they gave them the environment, the platform, the support to do it. And because it's such a different generation as well, they pick up things so easily. It's something that is there, free for. It's just amazing. No, well done, well done. It's incredible. Now, let's come to your book. The book is called Win the Money Game with Your Child: How to Achieve Financial Freedom for Your Family, Leveraging the Power of Digital Media. Why did you decide to write this book?
This book has been in the making for a very long time. When my girls started achieving results, in 2019, late 2019 to early 2020, they started speaking in conferences and in women's organizations and in churches, just getting people to be inspired about the fact that you could actually use the online space to create an income. And then so when pandemic happened, they were sat at home doing nothing. We couldn't go to churches. And so we decided, they were doing a few online forums, but I told them, why don't you put this in a course? And then that's what they did. So they were able to do the recording of the models, editing, uploading into funnels, all that, everything that you talk about digital, they were able to do it. And for me, that just was inspirational to see that from the point of knowing about Instagram to this point of being able to become course creators was just incredible. So indeed, they did that. And then parents just were asking, okay, how can I work with my child? How can I work with my child? And that's when we launched the Simply Family Business Program. Again, as you were saying, the training that we did within the speaking with Andy was having a model that you can actually get people through. And so we got that model as simply, that is just helping people to search for their niche, helping them to identify their platform that they would actually use to promote their business, helping them to master the business process, i.e., how to set business plans and goals, and then helping them to position themselves as the go-to person in the industry, and then helping them leverage the power of the website worldwide, so not just social media, but other digital media, website, Google, to be able to promote themselves, and then help them yield profit, which is being able to onboard customers and process and help them achieve results. So that's the simple model we launched, the coaching. And then, so of course, coaching means that people who are interested in actually getting coached. But then as time went on, I decided that, you know what, why don't I put this in a book? Because again, that was from my initial training. That was one of the things that they talked about. If you have something, it's not everybody who would be able to get to do business with you at the top end, but people can start from a book and then they learn to buy this concept, because I know that the online is a haven for us if we embrace it. Most of us parents will go to work for hours, like I mentioned, 12 hours, 14 hours we're working and leaving the children at home. Meanwhile, they have the ideas. They know what to do to be able to make money if we could support them. So that is the reason for the book.
That's amazing. So, because I've looked at the book and it's just full of so much resources, so much information to really help people build. So from your perspective, just kind of bringing it all together, what's the main message in the book? Because I looked at it, you've got everything. I've not finished reading it, but I will. It's got selling, it's got, and even the psychology of selling, which I find quite interesting as well. You really went into that, which is so powerful. So for you, in terms of writing the book, what's the core message in the book? And also, what lessons have you learned over time in terms of really helping children develop a business that you want to share with other parents as well?
Lovely. Thank you so much. So the core message about the book is financial freedom. We just need to be financially free as parents, and then the joy of parenting will be incredibly amazing. But in order for us to become financially free, we have to go to work to be able to bring in money. Unfortunately, we don't know much about money. Most of us don't. I think it's over 90% or 95% of people don't know why they go to work in the first place, because they go just to make money, to come and settle bills. But that's not the key reason why we go to work. We should go to work to be able to make the money, to follow the principles of building wealth so that life becomes enjoyable. Because we don't know the principles of money and how to manage money, we are in the motion of going to work. So we just go to work, make the money, spend the money. Go to work, make the money, spend the money. Then the children are there who can make the money. So why don't we learn the skills that can help us? Number one, then we have a dual purpose of, imagine working with your child who loves what they do. It's amazing because you see the smile in their face when they make money. So in a nutshell, financial freedom, how do we get there? How do we get our children involved to make it faster, quicker for us so that we can live life the way we desire for ourselves? That is the message of the book.
Well, thanks so much. So what is the difference between financial freedom, or creating that financial freedom, and creating wealth? What's the difference between both?
So creating financial freedom means that you don't have to go to work if you don't want to. Whatever you have invested in life, be it housing, be it stocks, whatever it is that you have invested in, can actually generate money every month that will cover your expenses. So you don't need to go to work. It doesn't mean that you won't work, because the point of working is also to inspire you, also to build more. Now, in terms of wealth, you need it to ensure that not only are you getting the money just to survive or to meet your needs, but there's enough money that can cover your lifetime and cover several generations to come. So wealth building is beyond just financial freedom. But we have to start from, first of all, getting to become financially independent.
So what challenges have you found, though, in creating or even teaching your children about financial freedom and creating wealth? What challenges have you found along the way to help other parents?
Okay, so in terms of training or bringing up my children, what some of us unfortunately think is that it's going to be easy. Nothing good comes easy. There was no any networking event I didn't send them. We were forever in London, going to network event after network event. Now, I remember one of the events we went. This was one lady called Mavis Amankwa. She's a businesswoman, a Ghanaian businesswoman in London. I remember at the time that they say, introduce yourself, I saw my daughter going into the bathroom. And I went after her because she was trying to dodge that period.
Yes.
And I went after her. And at that time, I had already just been speaking to a lady who said she was a foodie. So foodie means that their passion is about food and they're posting things on Instagram. So I just went and said, Vanessa, where are you going? She says, I'm going to use the bathroom. I said, can you speak to this lady because she's a foodie? And up to this day, she and that lady are still in contact. So as a parent, you need to come out. Otherwise, your children, you can't just sit and ask them to do X, Y, Z. It won't work because they also have their insecurities. Yeah. If we parents are having insecurities, they also have insecurities. So we have to guide them. So they have the ideas, but they are waiting for us to now guide them to that place where they can stand in their own power. Now, Vanessa is being invited here and there. She'll be going to Manchester to do a speech. Some of these things I'm not even they send me emails, but now that she's 18, she does it herself anyway. But they used to send me emails to say, oh, can Vanessa speak at this? Can Vanessa do this? Can Vanessa do that? And I will be the first person to, even sometimes if they so for example, they will send an email and set the deadline. And just for any reason, if I haven't seen the deadline and then it passes, I would personally go on the phone and speak to the person because I just want her to have that exposure. So for parents, we need to be sold out on this, that they cannot do it without us. We cannot sit down and send them. It's not an errand where you say, go and bring me the remote control. You have to be there working with them side by side, going to children's event, going to adults event, introducing them to people. I mean, when Vanessa started with her website design, I was busy introducing her in the church. I said, oh, Vanessa has done the website. And she'll be like, oh, Mom. And then so people started patronizing her web design. Blessing is currently working with Donia. I introduced her to Donia. I introduced her, and then Donia introduced her to her sister, who employed her to work with, the likes of the Olympic Games when they were doing it the last time. She actually did social media on the Olympic Games. Like, you have to be out there as a parent to get them to that level. So in terms of challenges, they will be there. But we have to be having that discipline to see them through.
I love that. I love the fact that when she was trying to escape, you called her back. But what you did is brought her back to speak to someone that they had something in common. And that then kind of calmed the nerves or the anxiety. And that was very smart as well. And something else you mentioned is giving them the exposure. Will it be scary? Yes, it was. And that was why she was trying to run away. And that's that flight or freeze mechanism. Hers was the flight response, trying to run. But what you did was brought her back to something that will calm her. That is the fooding. I love that. That's so powerful. And these are skills we can implement in different aspects of our lives to support our children to be able to be resilient. Because with challenges come, yes, but how do they navigate it when they come? So I think one final question, because we're getting close to the end. One other question I want to ask is, now that you've really brought up your children, trained them to build, financially independent, to be financially independent, how have they used this to their benefits now in terms of their education, in terms of life? How have they used it?
Wow, that's a very powerful question. And actually, that's the excitement of this all, because at the end of the day, I keep saying I started making money when I was young, and I haven't, I didn't become financially independent quick enough because I didn't know the principles. But my aim is to ensure that I instill those into my children. So Vanessa recently got base of this. Okay, one of the things that I always wanted to do or always want to do is to help the children to do the things that they love to do. So Vanessa was artistic. When she was going to sixth form, we had to look for a school that was over 1 hour away from our home so that she could get into the art school. It turned out that not only was she did it do arts, but it also was computer science oriented. But because she loved art and she couldn't do the arts without the computer according to the program, guess what? She accepted to do computer science. Double computer science for somebody who had never done computer. She didn't do computer science in secondary school. So that's how the love of something can actually pull you into doing something really useful. So based off that, when she finished, one of the things that the school is good at is helping them get apprenticeship. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine she was traveling over an hour to school. But what has she got from there? She was able, because of the computer science that she did, Now she doesn't even talk of ads, surprisingly. So she was able to get apprenticeship to work with Just Eat as a tech support.
Oh, wow.
She's earning an undergraduate salary at age 18. I mean, I look at it and I'm like,
incredible.
am I even dreaming?
That is incredible.
Yeah. Blessing is at school, but she's working online. She's still working with Donias all these years.
Yeah.
When she was doing her gap year, there was this government program that Donia had. She was earning good money in pandemic. She was earning money sitting at home. Sometimes she could go out, you are out, and she's holding her phone for the work that she did. Every now and then she would glance and answer whatever question that they want her to answer. And then, so the ease of things that they can do to earn money is actually beneficial because she's reading marketing as well, but she's able to work remotely. Like I said, I didn't like England, so they can go and live anywhere in the warm country and still earn good money. Yeah. My last but not the least, my son, he started with TikTok account using sports cars. So with that, I mean, I'm sold out. Whatever they are going to do, if it's not detrimental to their growth, I'm a cheerleader. So he's been posting now. His account is over 5,000 followers on TikTok, and he's got over 1 million views on his videos. I mean, come with time, he is going to be able to monetize that account.
Yeah.
Just for doing the things that he enjoys. He doesn't have to stress for the money. And for me, I think that's the message.
Yeah, that's really powerful. That's really powerful because what you're giving them is skills that it also enables them to be very adaptable and to be able to really make a way, even when problems or challenges, obstacles are there. And that's really so valuable. So honestly, well done, Beatrice. This been a fantastic conversation. So where can people find you in terms of your business, but most importantly now, where can they find this book, Win the Money Game with Your Child? And I love that, the money game with your child. We really didn't have time to go much deeper into quite a bit of the things, but the book is so detailed. It really has so much. Get in the money game, money mindset, which is so powerful. And then the research roadmap of how to start a business, digital platform planner, business process accelerator, brand design masterpiece. This book is just phenomenal. It's a great, great book. So understanding what money is, I love that. So where can people buy this book? Because everyone needs a copy. Where can they get it?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so the book is on Amazon. If you type in Beatrice Yakubu, Win the Money Game, it's live on Amazon. It's also on my social media channels. So I am Beatrice Yakubu, all of the channels, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Yeah, it's all over the place. So, or just contact me, info@beatriceyakubu.com. And indeed, I will send you some copies.
Awesome. I'm going to put all Beatrice information in the description for this podcast so that you can contact her, and there will be a link to where you can buy the book on Amazon or wherever else you get books from. But this book is just an amazing book. There's just so much detail and depth into it. And also, if you are thinking now, how do I help my children build up their own financial independence? How do I enable them to become independent? Beatrice's information will be at the bottom. Do reach out to her. She's done it, as you can see. So she will be so much help to you. Beatrice, thank you so much for coming on to this podcast. I want you to just finally give us one last final wisdom to leave us with at the end of this podcast?
Lovely. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate you. I just want us to know, in my opinion, parenting can be amazing if we didn't have to strive for money, if we didn't have to run to work, run to this, run to that, not having time to look after the children, not having time to take them to school, not having time to be there when they come back from school. Like, you are going out when they're sleeping, you come back when they're in bed. Seriously, we need to think differently. And Win the Money Game will give you the answers to some of the questions, some of the things that you felt you didn't know how. All the information is in there for you to take charge, because at the end of the day, children are a gift. And I think that we should be rejoicing while raising them.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. What a great way to end it. A great advice to parents, actually. That's lovely. Thank you once again. And I look forward to hearing all the great things that you're doing with your children and the business. Thank you again, Beatrice, for coming on to this podcast. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Lead to Excel podcast. I hope our discussion has inspired you. Remember, achieving excellence is a marathon, and every step counts towards your goals. If today's conversation sparked any thoughts or questions, feel free to share them with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, and consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find this podcast on YouTube. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more listeners. Don't forget to subscribe to never miss an episode filled with expert insights and inspiration. Until next time, this is Maureen reminding you to stay curious, stay driven, and together, let's remain limitless and change the world. Bye for now.